hands. I guess you can shake wings or something. If I were you, I would watch out on Thanksgiving. You never know. I mean, you can't find a turkey.
Shake hands. Okay.
Is everyone here? Well, good afternoon. I guess it is afternoon by about 4 minutes. This was once the site of the largest landfill in the world, but now it's on its way to becoming the biggest new park in our city in more than 100 years. And that transformation, I'm happy to say, is underway. We've opened new parks, playgrounds, and soccer fields at the edge of the Freshkills site. We've restored natural wetlands and vegetation, including in what was probably the only project of our administration to employ a herd of goats. We invited them to have some lunch eating invasive plant species. Now, this is not the only time that the city has used animals. Nobody here is old enough, including me, to remember, but the garbage removal system was they had pigs that roamed the streets, and you threw your garbage out into the streets, and the pigs ate it. And that was what they did. Not that many years ago, only 200, but something like that. The park also has welcomed thousands of visitors for public events, including just 2 weeks ago, a 10-kilometer road race. And we're working with elected officials and members of our community. Our administration, and in working with them, our administration drafted a master plan to convert all of Freshkills into a vast, beautiful park over the next 25 years, and those plans are about to take a big step forward. Next month, we intend to formally apply to map the site as parkland. And once that application is submitted to city planning, we can begin to realize the conversion of another 1,500 acres of this site into parkland. This planning process has been years in the making, and it really is a testament to the hard work of so many in our administration who are committed to our parks, and to the elected leaders in Staten Island who have been our partners here in Freshkills. When all 2,200 acres of Freshkills Park are open, they'll bring our city's total parkland over the 30,000-acre mark, and that includes more than 870 acres of parks that our administration has added to the city's park system in addition to Freshkills. The park was planned to be a big contributor to our city's sustainability, and in fact that has already happened. In sites across Freshkills, the Department of Sanitation is harvesting methane produced by the waste buried under the ground, enough to heat about 22,000 homes. The city is selling that gas to Natural Grid, and that's generating about $3 million in annual revenue. And last year, we also requested proposals for wind or solar energy projects on up to 75 acres of Freshkills, and today I'm happy to announce that we've reached an agreement with SunEdison to build and operate what will be New York City's largest solar power facility here in Freshkills. The solar panels SunEdison will install on this site will be able to produce up to 10 megawatts of energy, and that's enough to power 2,000 homes. It'll increase the total amount of solar energy produced in our city by something like 50%. And today, New York City, you should know, produces about 20 megawatts of solar energy, about 20 times the amount we did when we launched Plan NYC back in 2007. I'm glad to say the city has been a leader in expanding the use of solar and alternative power and improving energy efficiency. This year we created a public-private partnership to install about 2 megawatts of solar power on city buildings. We're also working with the New York Power Authority, Con Ed, and the Long Island Power Authority on plans for an offshore wind power project, and we've set in motion an effort to replace all 250,000 of the city's streetlights with energy-efficient LEDs, and that will reduce the energy those lights use by something like 80%. And we've taken big steps like using more electric-powered vehicles and switching to biodiesel fuels that are making the nation's largest municipal fleet its greenest as well. And these projects are helping us build on the tremendous progress that we've made since launching the Plan NYC site 6 years ago. And they show what's possible when government and the private sector work together to build a better city. We've advanced more than halfway to our goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 30% by 2030 in just 6 years' time. Our waterways are now cleaner than they've been in a century. Our air is cleaner than it's been in decades. We've achieved a lot and established a strong foundation for New York's sustainability progress to grow in the years to come. The Fresh Kills Solar Project is just another exciting step forward. It won't cost the city anything to build. SunEdison will sell energy generated here to private customers in the city, clean energy that helps us further reduce our carbon footprint. And it's fitting that this site, long associated with the most stubborn challenges of urban development, will now be a shining example of cutting-edge solutions. We owe a lot of thanks to Deputy Mayor for Operations Kaz Holloway, Parks Commissioner Veronica White, and Sanitation Commissioner John Doherty, the last two who are with us today, and our departments of Parks and Sanitation, as well as the city's Economic Development Corporation, who've done such a phenomenal job preparing this land to be one of the world's biggest and most exciting urban parks. And I would like to particularly thank our Director of Long-Term Planning and Sustainability, Sergei Manovsky, who is with us today, and his team for their work on the request for proposals that led to SunEdison being here today. That work includes 3 years of intensive analysis and planning to allow for renewable energy development at this very complex site. And I certainly have to thank Borough President Jim Molinaro, the borough president of Staten Island, who has just been a spectacular borough president, has worked so hard for all parts of this borough. But he really has also been a champion of renewable energy development at Fresh Kills for years. Who knew that he would be a tree hugger when he was elected? But it turns out that he has been very environmentally conscious and really has done a great job for the people of Staten Island. A lot of these things which will go on and be valuable to the people of Staten Island, the city, and the country for years. The park that we are building here and the solar energy that will power homes and businesses from here would not be possible without his leadership. So now we're going to hear from the best borough president Staten Island has ever had while I have been mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. Today is indeed an historic day. In 2001, when the dump closed after 52 years of operation, at a point, Fresh Kill was taking in 22,000 tons of garbage a day. Just think of that figure, 22,000 tons of garbage a day. And Fresh Kills could be seen from the satellite which was circulating the world. It was one of the wonders of the world. And we finally did close it in 2001. And we got rid of this landfill that was not only an eyesore, but was killing people from the methane gas and so forth and so on. And I had just become borough president at that time, and I asked the Port Authority for $500,000 to do a study to see if we could put some form of energy collecting sources on Staten Island and the Fresh Kills. And the study came back that yes, we could. We could create maybe 18, 19 megawatts of electricity a year, which would be almost 6 or 7% of what Staten Island uses. And we started to do the study. Well, I'm glad to see today that we will be getting energy from the landfill. We will be turning something which was a disaster into a benefit for the people of Staten Island and for the environment. And we will be generating almost 10 megawatts of electricity a day, which is about 2.5% of what we use. But it's clean energy, and it's just a start. Just a start. And first, I am certain that eventually we'll have some windmills up here, as I was telling Kerry this morning, and right now they're producing 6.5 to 7 megawatts a year, the new ones. So I'm grateful, but it didn't happen easily. The mayor did plan for this, and Kaz Calloway, which I don't see Kaz. Kaz, he should be thanked, and we really appreciate what you have done for Staten Island from 2001. And what people should understand, what the press should understand, when 2001 did happen and it closed, both myself and the mayor were elected. And after 9/11, there was tremendous, tremendous, tremendous pressure to reopen this dump. Tremendous pressure. And the mayor held a press conference right here. And he told the people of Staten Island, the people of the city of New York, and many people in the city of New York didn't like the idea, this will not reopen. This dump will not reopen. And we thank you. And I thank you. And so thank you and God bless you.
I will remember for years people kept saying, are you going to reopen it? I said, we said it once.
Yes.
But anyways, I think now nobody's asked me in a long time, so I assume that everybody's finally got the message and believes. Instead, it's going to be a park. So needless to say, we're going to have our Parks Commissioner, Veronica White, say a few words. Veronica?
Thank you. It's so great to be here on Staten Island today and to celebrate Fresh Kills and to think, as the Borough President outlined, of what it was and to know where we're going and how this will be one of the largest parks New York City has ever seen. And what a great thing to do this at the end of this wonderful administration where the Mayor and Patty Harris, First Deputy Mayor, have invested $5 billion in parks across New York City. From old structures that were disused and unused, whether it's the High Line or the High Bridge, to landfills, to our waterfront, which across 5 boroughs really turned so much, we turned our back on the water, and now across 5 boroughs we're opening up our parks on the waterfront. It's a glorious day to be here. I have to say a big thank you to Eloise Hirsch, the Parks Administrator, who probably never thought this day would come, but to know that we're actually submitting our mapping action, and someday New York City will have over 30,000 acres of parkland, someday next year. It's extraordinary. But it's been a partnership, especially with the Sanitation Department. All the science, and I have to say, much of the hard work is done by John Doherty and his team. The parks, we get to do the pretty part on top, and the scientists and the folks at Sanitation do a lot of the hard and dirty work. So we're really appreciative of all that John Doherty and his team have done for us. And also, if it weren't for Plan YC, we wouldn't be here celebrating. So thank you to Sergey and the team and to Deputy Mayor Kaz Holloway for all that they've done to make this a reality here with solar power and a sign of the future instead of a sign of the past. So congratulations to all, and thank you so much, especially to our wonderful, wonderful Borough President.
Veronica, you should know that we had a long discussion as to whether or not we should let our Sanitation Commissioner talk. Some people said yes, some people said no, but what carried today is he's the only one up here, I believe, who is a real son of Staten Island. He was born here.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, Jimmy, yeah. Thank you, Mayor. Well, you know, the Borough President talked a minute ago about the history of Staten Island. But when you look back, prior to 1948, when the landfill first opened, this was a wetlands, a marsh, full of wildlife and millions of mosquitoes, and very few people living around it. But from 1948 until March 2001, it became the repository for the city's waste. And over that time, the population on Staten Island grew, and they started moving in around the perimeter of the landfill. And the landfill closed, and a new park started to take shape, which was once marshlands. Over many years, I watched the transformation of these wetlands to a landfill and now a park. As each area of the landfill closed and was capped off, the natural beauty of this place came to light in my mind. When I looked across the grass fields and the meadows and over the Fresh Kills, Main, and Richmond creeks, I could see the beauty of this place forming. Wildlife has returned. We have a herd of deer out here, if anybody hasn't noticed, but they're out here. So it's a whole different place than I grew up in many ways. In my office hangs a beautiful picture of the landfill, looking over the grass fields, Main Creek, and the skyline of New York in the background. And when I look back at that, I often think and marvel how this place changed when I was a boy and played in this area. It's another step forward today when the mayor announced solar energy coming to this landfill to provide a more sustainable area out here for Staten Island, and one that we can all be very proud of. And it's another step forward in the mayor's Sustainability for New York City program. I look forward, and I want to thank Commissioner White for what she and her team has accomplished in such a short time, starting to construct and build this landfill that we, our generations of children and my grandchildren, will learn to enjoy and have a great time. So I look forward to seeing this landfill continue to grow and become a beautiful park over time. Thank you very much, ma'am.
John, thank you. Sergey Manovsky is the Director of Office of Long-Term Planning and Sustainability. Sergey?
Thank you, Mayor. The goal of having a cleaner energy supply in New York City has always required projects as bold as a vision itself. This unprecedented solar project is one innovative approach to scaling up renewable energy in a dense urban environment. Solar at Fresh Kills began really as an idea in Borough President Molinaro's office, and then over the past 3 years with our engineers and the great work of the Parks and Sanitation departments. It is now a project that will help us understand how renewables can actually integrate into our energy networks at a much greater scale. Solar PV growth in New York City has been strong. It's grown 20-fold in the past 6 years. But we're nowhere near the level seen in areas such as New Jersey and Long Island. This project sends a signal to the marketplace that renewable energy is both achievable within the city and that it will continue to grow and become a major component of our energy supply. This project will also push the existing regulations to their boundaries. Interconnections with Con Ed system will have to be clarified. State programs aimed at increasing renewable energy will have to be expanded. And landfill post-closure care will have to be rewritten. And these are only a few of the challenges ahead, but this is a necessary undertaking in order to shift our power sector to a clean and more reliable future. I'd like to thank SunEdison for partnering with us on this groundbreaking project, Con Edison for making this project happen as well, and also Mayor Bloomberg for his leadership and for his vision of a greater, greener New York. Thank you.
Sergey talked about SunEdison, and we are joined by Attila Toth, the General Manager at SunEdison.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everybody. It's my great honor to be here today and represent SunEdison. Thank you very much for the trust that you have placed in our company. I will make sure that we will develop a beautiful solar project here that every New Yorker is going to be proud of. Thank you to Mayor Bloomberg and his team for having the vision to use this 47-acre plot that was once a landfill to generate clean, renewable electricity and also provide businesses in New York with cost savings, and at the same time recurring revenues for the city and develop public parkland for the enjoyment of the community. I believe that this is par for the course. This is the largest city in the nation, and the largest city is developing the largest brownfield to park conversion site. Honestly, I don't even know about a site of this size in the world. There might be one, but I know that this is the largest one in the country. This is a very innovative solution, and this kind of thinking does not happen in every city around the nation. Our planned solar power plant will help the city to reach its goal of 30% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. As I mentioned, in addition to the electricity that we will generate here, we will also provide the City of New York with recurring revenues from a leasing contract that we are signing with the city. And I also mentioned that net metering credits are going to be provided to businesses in the so they can save on their energy bills. So it's a win-win. It's a true public-private partnership. Let me tell you a little bit about SunEdison so that you know that you have casted your vote right and you can trust us with this development. Our company is a leading worldwide developer of solar power plants. We also own technology, so we bring modules, tracking technology. We have built about 740 projects around the world, okay, of very similar size than this one. We have about 1.1 gigawatt of solar capacity that we have developed, and we have 1.6 gigawatts that we are managing for including third parties. So sometimes utilities come to us and we manage their solar power plants. Having all that data enables us that we build and operate highly efficient solar power plants. Let me address one more aspect of importance, which is job creation. Solar energy is already having a very positive impact on the city of New York and on the state of New York. I looked up the stats before I came here. In 2012, there were about 3,330 solar workers in the state of New York across 405 companies. Solar is growing at a very fast pace, about 35–40% year over year. So I expect that that is going to grow and benefit workers in New York City and New York State. We are expecting to employ more than 100 workers at this plant when we are going to build this. We look forward to a very long-term relationship with the City of New York and with the State of New York, and thank to Mayor Bloomberg for his leadership. The Fresh Kills Solar Project reaffirms New York's position as a model city. It embodies taking bold initiative to tackle big problems that the whole nation is grappling with. It presents innovative solutions that cities around the globe can be very proud of. Now, let the sun shine. This city is ready for it. Thank you.
Well, thank you. We're also joined today by Birdie, our green YC mascot, who is probably freezing in there, who's been by our side for many of our administration's sustainability milestones. Thank you very much for doing that. Let me summarize for our Spanish-speaking New Yorkers what we talked about today. El Parque de Fresh Kills traerá más 1,200 acres de áreas verdes a nuestra ciudad y será el nuevo parque más grande en más de 100 años. El parque también tendrá el proyecto solar más grande de la ciudad, produciendo energía y reduciendo nuestro impacto ecológico. And with that, we'll take a few questions on topic, if that's yes, Miss.
Just two questions. One is this just going to power Staten Island or the rest of the city as well? And the second question is how long, what's the estimated timeline on this project?
So this system is going to be connected in the Con Ed system, and it's going to power customers in the 5 boroughs of New York. We are going to be providing net metering energy credits, which is a saving on the energy bills of the customers that sign up for this program. So they do not have to be physically connected to the system in order to enjoy renewable power and enjoy the savings that we are going to provide.
What's the timeline on the project?
Timeline.
This is a complex project because of environmental permitting. So if all permitting goes well, we will be breaking ground sometimes in the second half of 2015. And we expect to complete the project sometimes in 2016. Again, a very big if on how quickly we can move through the environmental permitting, and we are getting huge support from the city officials on making sure that that goes according to schedule.
And I think it's safe to say the next administration is going to have to provide a lot of help, too. These are just very difficult environmental things, which are all there for good reasons, maybe, but it is very complex. There's lots of federal, state, city environmental issues that you have to pull together, and just anything you do with something like this, that's the toughest part. The technology keeps getting better. We know how to do that. The market is there, and the answer to your question really is once you plug electricity into the grid, it's sort of shared with everything. Yes, Miss?
Jillian Jorgensen, Staten Island Advance. Will there be any cost to the city for this project? Or is it all...
You want to talk about costs, John?
No, there will be no cost to the city. Thanks.
Stay here.
You've been on the island a couple of times in the last 2 weeks. You're here today reaffirming that Fresh Kills will be closed and it'll be a park. You were here last week opening a new police precinct. What do you think your legacy will be on Staten Island with Staten Island?
Well, the first thing is supporting your borough president, who deserves more credit than I do for everything that happens here. The city may have provided it, but it was Jim Molinaro who almost I don't know if you can say every day, but just the number of times that I saw him in City Hall working with commissioners to try to get things for Staten Island without wasting his time going to me. He went to where you can really get things done, and he deserves an enormous amount of credit. I think the whole administration's legacy should be that we brought good government to all 5 boroughs. We brought low crime to all 5 boroughs. We brought economic development to all 5 boroughs. We improved public health in all 5 boroughs. And you go right down the list. It's pretty. I think the things that are done, some boroughs it's more important to, and some less, and every one of the things is different. But the people of Staten Island have benefited. On average, the people in Staten Island are living 3 years longer than they did 12 years ago, and if that isn't a good legacy, I just don't know what is. Yes, sir.
Bobby Kusa from New York One. Do you see this type of thing as the future of energy? And do you think that solar...
I don't think there's any question. Solar, actually, because of a dramatic reduction in the cost of solar panels, has become competitive without subsidies with other forms of energy. And so the big things that are happening is, one, moving from coal to natural gas. Coal kills 13,000 Americans, about 800 people in this area every single year. People don't want that stuff in the air that coal produces, so there's a movement to natural gas. Natural gas's prices have fallen dramatically with new modern ways of extracting natural gas from the ground, but it still is somewhat polluting. Solar is one of those things that is not polluting at all. The problem with solar and wind is it only produces some time of the day power, and so the big problems with solar is really storage, and the big problem with wind is really transmission. The places where the winds blow the most aren't necessarily where people live and need the energy. And solar, if you're going to just depend on solar, you have to find some ways to store the energy during the day for people that want to use energy at night. But the percentage of this country that has gone solar is, without making a big deal about it, it's just overnight has been expanding dramatically.
In the city, is there a lot of room for growth in terms of renewable, the amount that we can...
Yeah, I mean, you can put stuff on. The biggest things you can do in New York City, we've already done, and that is painting roofs white. Painting roofs white reduced for a 5-story building, I think the number is something like 25% of your energy bill goes down overnight. If you fly over New York City, you'll see 80-odd%, maybe it's even 90% of flat roof buildings have now done that. So, you solve the energy problem two ways: generating more and using less. And I think the numbers which we talked about when we opened that leg of the water tunnel, New York City has gone from using something like 1.5 billion gallons a day to 1 billion gallons a day in the last dozen years. Energy, we're using a lot less, which makes the problem of supply somewhat easier. But you can put panels on your roof. Typically, small buildings, it doesn't work. But if you just go across the river in New Jersey, we have a lot of big warehouses. You'll see a very big percentage of them now have big solar installations. And Bloomberg, and I had nothing to do with it, but one day somebody told me that we had bought a few acres of farmland right near our Princeton, New Jersey complex where we have a couple thousand people working. We now generate something like 70% of all of our own energy. And the payback was within 2 years. And we bought those solar panels a few years ago when the price was much higher. Today, if you were to go do it, the payback would be dramatically quicker. So you have to have another energy source because you have to have energy at night. But as people are working on the storage, that will go away. Yes, miss.
Mara Gay again with the Wall Street Journal. How much in revenue will the city be getting from that leasing contract?
Does anybody know how much?
So we are in the process of negotiating a 20-year site lease agreement. We will be paying per acre to the city a certain amount. I'm not at liberty to disclose that since we are still in negotiation, but it will be a significant revenue to the city. And on the top of that, the net metering revenue, the net metering credits that I mentioned are going to be providing savings to the end users. I can address that on a 2-megawatt capacity, we would be providing somewhere in between $2.5 to $3 million of savings to the end users that will be buying those net metering credits.
How many solar panels approximately are there going to be in the project?
We will be using our highest efficiency monocrystalline solar panels, and we expect between 30 and 35,000 panels to be installed.
What's the square feet of that? Because I don't know how the size.
47 acres in 2 sites, Arthur Kills and the east side. Okay. So altogether, those
47, that's a better ways to look at
47
it.
47 acres.
Panels, some are small, some are big. So, and the net metering, if you're really interested, talk to them afterwards. It's a little bit complex, and you might want to put it in the story. It is interesting.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Yes, sir.
Kevin Sheehan, the New York Post. These high-efficiency panels that you just mentioned, these aren't them, right? These were just for show. Was there any problem getting these high-efficiency panels here, or do they exist yet, or?
High-efficiency panels exist. We're installing them on multiple sites. We have hundreds of megawatts of solar capacity under construction as we speak. These are props procured by the PR department. These ones are multi-crystalline, lower efficiency panels. What we will be installing is the highest efficiency monocrystalline panels.
There's no, there was no problem getting, getting these.
The technology has been changing dramatically. That's what nobody expected. Nobody thought that solar really would be anything more than a nice thing to say, feel-good thing. And the truth of the matter is it has become just about competitive with other ways of generating fossil fuel generation of electricity, which just was literally 2 or 3 years ago. I think it's fair to say nobody thought that would happen. Prices have come down dramatically as manufacturing techniques have got better, but also the efficiency of them, the megawatts they produce per dollar you have to pay, is dramatically higher. And I think they've given up on these, one about to open, where you focus all the sun on one place and at the top of a tower, and you boil water and use that to generate concentrate. Yeah, now they're going back to just opening fields up of them, and there's an awful lot of progress being made, and the price of the stuff is coming down dramatically. Thank you very much. Nice day and warm on Staten Island, right? I feel it.